Imagine a world where seeing is not believing and where not being seen is maybe the truest way to exist. Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Today we're plunging into one character's really extraordinary journey of self-discovery, all through this paradox of invisibility.
Right, the idea that sometimes being unseen by others. Well, that's actually the key to seeing yourself, your own reality.
Exactly. Our mission is to pull out some powerful insights from these amazing literary sources we're looking at. We want to unpack what it means to be seen, to be defined.
And how you actually forge your own identity when the world is constantly trying to shape you, right?
Totally. We'll get into some surprising ideas about perception, about power dynamics, the search for truth, all through this one man's struggle to find his place.
Yeah, and our main source today is this series of really raw, unvarnished excerpts. They're like windows, really, into a life lived on the edge of visibility.
So to really get this journey, we have to start at his beginning. Or maybe it's more like a re-beginning.
That's a good way to put it.
He starts off telling us he's living in this hole in New York. But it's warm and full of light, he says. Brighter than Broadway, even.
Which is immediately strange, isn't it? Why would an invisible man need light? He asks that himself. Desire light. Love light.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, his explanation is fascinating. He says, light confirms my reality, gives birth to my form. And then, without light, I am not only invisible, but formless as well. It's deep.
So light isn't about being seen by others.
Not primarily, no. It's about his own sense of self, his own form. And he even says he did not become alive until I discovered my invisibility, after like 20 years of just existing.
Wow. So invisibility isn't a defect for him. It's self-awareness.
A radical kind of self-awareness, yeah. It's about understanding your own reality, even if the world doesn't see it.
Okay, but before he gets to this, profound realization, there's this shadow from his past. His grandfather.
Ah, yes, the grandfather, a former slave. And on his deathbed, he drops this bombshell. He says his whole life was a war and that he himself was a traitor.
A traitor? How does the family even react to that? How do we make sense of it?
Well, it's incredibly confusing and disturbing for them, and for the narrator especially. It's this insight into the terrible paradox of survival, particularly for marginalized groups under oppression.
And then there's that famous advice he gives.
Oh, yeah. Overcome them with yeses, undermine them with grins, agree them to death and destruction, let them swaller you till they vomit or bust wide open.
Intense. That must create so much tension for the narrator.
Absolutely. He says he feels guilty and uncomfortable whenever he's praised for being good or well-behaved, because he sees it as treachery, just like his grandfather said.
It forces you to question everything, right? What's real loyalty? What's real power when you're in that kind of system?
Exactly. And it becomes even more pointed later when he gives this graduation speech.
Right, praising humility as the secret, the very essence of progress.
He's performing exactly what society, especially the white power structure, wants to hear. But those grandfather words are haunting him.
And that internal conflict just explodes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At the battle royal.
Oh, the battle royal. Yeah. It's such a disturbing, visceral scene. It just lays bare the price of that kind of required performance, the dehumanization.
So he's invited, this promising high school graduate, supposedly to give his speech to the town's leading white citizens.
Supposedly. But instead, he and these other young black boys are forced into this grotesque spectacle.
Blindfolded boxing.
Facing a naked white woman, used as an object to, incite and humiliate.
And then scrambling for coins on an electrified rug. It's just brutal.
Absolutely brutal. And he reflects, oddly, on being able to contain the electricity, a contradiction, but it works. It's like he's already internalizing this need to absorb pain, to perform under duress.
And then after all that, he still tries to give his speech.
Amidst the drunken laughter, people shouting at him, making him repeat words, and then he accidentally says social equality.
Just slips out.
Slips out. And the reaction is immediate hostility. It reveals just how dangerous any genuine expression, any hint of demanding real equality actually is in that context.
Even a slip of the tongue breaks the illusion.
Completely. It shows how fragile those power structures are, how violently they react when the expected performance falters, and a real desire, a real truth pushes through.
So the battle royal is this horrifying initiation, really.
Yeah.
How does that shape him going into college? College is supposed to be the escape, the great dream become reality.
It seems like it at first. The green campus, the ideal, but the source immediately shows us the other side.
What kind?
Right near this beautiful campus are these sun-shrunk shacks where Disabled veterans visited the whores.
So the grim reality is right there next to the dream.
Exactly. It immediately complicates the picture. Even in this supposed haven, the inequity, the uncomfortable truths, they're just unavoidable. They exist side by side.
And it's at college he meets Mr. Norton.
Right, Mr. Norton. A white trustee, wealthy, influential. He talks about his pleasant fate and this almost sacred connection he feels to his daughter, calls her a work of purest art.
Okay. A bit much, maybe.
A bit. And then he tells the narrator, your people are in some important manner tied to my destiny.
Wow. What does that even mean? What's Norton's deal?
Well, it reveals this deeply paternalistic mindset, doesn't it? He sees the black students, and black people generally, not really as individuals, but as sort of instrumental to his own story, his own sense of purpose or destiny.
Right. And the narrator ends up taking him to see Jim Trueblood.
Yes, the sharecropper and Trueblood. Well, he tells his story, this incredibly disturbing story, about an incestuous dream and what happened after. He doesn't sugarcoat anything.
How does Trueblood describe himself?
He just says, I ain't nobody but myself. And he sings the blues to cope. He owns his story, however horrifying.
And Norton's reaction?
He's completely shaken. Physically ill, eats whiskey, a stimulant. Trueblood's raw honesty, his refusal to perform or clean up his life for this white visitor, it just shatters Norton's whole carefully built worldview.
It really shows the power of just unvarnished truth, doesn't it? How it can expose the fragility of people who rely on these curated, comfortable narratives.
Absolutely. And that encounter then leads them to the Golden Day.
The saloon.
Yeah, this chaotic place filled with black veterans shell-shocked from a nearby hospital. And it's there that one of the vets, described as a fat man, confronts the narrator.
What does he say?
He looks right at him and calls him invisible. Says he's a walking personification of the negative, the most perfect achievement of your dreams, sir, the mechanical man.
Whoa, that's incredibly direct and prophetic, really.
Totally prophetic. It's this voice from the margins, from someone society labels insane, speaking this profound truth about the narrator's future condition.
And then we meet Dr. Bledsoe, the college president.
Bledsoe. He finds out the narrator took Norton to see Trueblood and to the Golden Day, this sinkhole, and he is furious.
What's Bledsoe's angle? He seems powerful.
He is, and he's utterly manipulative. He lays bare his strategy for survival and power. He tells the narrator, the only way to please a white man is to tell him a lie.
Wow. Just says it.
Oh, yeah, and he boasts, eyes big and black, and I say, yes, sir, as loudly as any burrhead when it's convenient, but I'm still the king down here. His advice. Get yourself power, influence, contacts, then stay in the dark and use it.
That's chilling. It's like he's internalized the very system he's supposedly navigating.
Exactly. It's this stark insight into how gaining power within an oppressive system can lead someone to perpetuate it, becoming a gatekeeper, betraying their own people for personal gain. It's another layer of control, another kind of invisibility he imposes.
And the narrator becomes a victim of that directly, right, with the expulsion.
Yes. Bledsoe expels him, but pretends to help, giving him these sealed letters of recommendation for jobs in New York, which, of course, are designed to ensure he never gets a real chance.
It's just pure betrayal. It feels like he's escaping one trap only to walk right into another one Bledsoe set for him.
Precisely. He's being controlled and manipulated at every turn, even when he thinks he's moving towards freedom.
So he gets to New York, expelled, but maybe hopeful. Someone on the bus calls it not a place, it's a dream.
Yeah, and he's immediately struck by Harlem, just the sight of so many black people, and specifically a black policeman directing traffic. And there were white drivers in the traffic who obeyed his signals.
That must have been a powerful image after the South.
Absolutely, a sign of possibility. But then there are contradictions. He sees a street speaker raise the Exhorter, whipping up anger about dispossession, while nearby, white policemen are just standing there laughing, completely detached.
So freedom and indifference side by side. It's not the simple promised land.
Not at all. It highlights that while maybe the overt violent racism is different, there's this complex mix of apparent freedom coexisting with a kind of systemic indifference. Progress feels almost like an illusion sometimes.
And then he witnesses that eviction scene.
Right. An old couple, their belongings just piled on the sidewalk, and he feels this deep connection, feels dispossessed of some painful yet precious thing, links it to his own past, his own losses.
And that leads to his first real, spontaneous public speaking moment, doesn't it?
It does. He just erupts. He cries out, dispossessed, dispossessed, 87 years, and dispossessed of what? They ain't got nothing, they can't get nothing, they never had nothing, so who is dispossessed?
Wow. That's raw.
Incredibly raw. And powerful. It's the complete opposite of his earlier, careful, humble speeches. This is pure, unfiltered outrage born from genuine feeling.
And that authenticity is what gets noticed, right?
Exactly. It shows how real, impactful communication often comes from that deep, authentic place, not calculation. And yeah, this moment catches the eye of the Brotherhood.
But before he jumps into that, there's Mary Rambo.
Ah, Mary. Yes. After he collapses, she takes him in. A kind Harlem woman. She senses the hospital smell on him, understands hardship without needing explanations.
What does she tell him?
She gives him this real unconditional care. And she tells him, it's you young folks what's going to make the changes. It's the ones from the South that's got to do it. Them what knows the fire and ain't forgot how it burns.
She sounds like a grounding force.
Totally. She represents genuine connection, real affirmation in the midst of all his confusion and the manipulation he's facing. Her insight is about the wisdom of lived experience, you know?
But that moment of connection is brief because the Brotherhood finds him. Brother Jack recruits him.
Right. And he's immediately given a new identity. He's told he'll be the new Booker T. Washington, but even greater than he.
That's quite a label to put on someone.
It is. He's made the chief spokesman of the Harlem district, promised freedom of action, but, and this is key, under strict discipline to the committee.
So, freedom, but with rules. Lots of rules. Given his past with Bledsoe and the Battle Royal, how does he react to this? Is he wary?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? It definitely echoes the past patterns. It sounds like empowerment, influence, but it's still an identity given to him, not one he chose.
And Brother Jack's philosophy doesn't sound too reassuring either.
Not at all. It's chillingly pragmatic or maybe cynical. Say what the people want to hear, but say it in such a way that they'll do what we wish. Act first, theorize later.
So, manipulate the message for the desired outcome.
Essentially, yes. It's a profound insight. Even groups aiming for liberation can end up imposing their own forms of control, stifling individual agency. It's like trading one master for another, just with different slogans.
Okay, so he joins. Then there's this moment with Brother Tarp.
Yes, an older member. He gives the narrator a link from a leg chain he wore for years, calls it a keepsake, a luck piece, says it reminds him of what we're really fighting against.
That feels like a genuine moment of solidarity, of shared history.
It does, but the irony is thick. Because very soon after that...
Trouble within the Brotherhood.
Exactly. Another member, Brother Restrum, starts making accusations against him, and that powerful, spontaneous speech he gave at the eviction, the Brotherhood condemns it.
The very speech that got their attention.
The very one. They call it wild, hysterical, politically irresponsible, and dangerous. And the narrator has this realization. Inside of it, they didn't see us.
Wow. So even within the movement, his real experience, his authentic voice, becomes invisible if it doesn't fit their script.
Precisely. It shows the danger of rigid ideology. The individual gets lost, becomes invisible again if they don't conform to the party line, even in a movement supposedly for them.
Another illusion shattered.
Yeah.
And things go downhill from there.
Right.
He gets reassigned.
Yeah. Sent downtown, away from Harlem, loses touch with the community pulse. And when he finally gets back, he finds Todd Clifton.
Clifton was a charismatic youth leader in the Brotherhood, wasn't he?
He was young, dynamic. But the narrator finds him on the street selling Sambo dolls, these racist caricatures.
What? Why?
It's presented as this shocking betrayal, this obscene flouncing of everything human. The narrator is horrified, and then, almost immediately after seeing this,
Clifton is killed.
senselessly shot down by a policeman. Just like that.
Devastating. How does the Brotherhood react to that?
That's where it gets even more disillusioning. In a meeting, Brother Jack just dismisses Clifton's death, calls it Clifton's personal responsibility, says he was a traitor anyway, and his death is just bad for the Brotherhood's prestige.
Unbelievable. He doesn't see the racial element.
The narrator pushes back hard. He argues he was shot because he was black and because he resisted, mainly because he was black. But Jack refuses to see it that way.
It shows how institutions, even supposedly radical ones, can just sacrifice individuals, sacrifice the truth for their own image, their own agenda.
Exactly. They end up dehumanizing the very people they claim to fight for. It's a profound insight into that kind of organizational blindness.
And speaking of blindness, this leads to that really striking scene with Brother Jack.
Oh, yeah. The glass eye. During a heated argument about Clifton, Jack gets so angry his artificial eye pops out.
Seriously?
Seriously. Falls into a glass, I think, and it reveals this raw redness underneath, this distorted gaze.
What a symbol.
A hugely powerful symbol, isn't it? It just lays bare Jack's own fractured reality, the hidden deceptions of the Brotherhood. It shows how superficial their order is, how blind they are, literally in his case, to the messy human truths they claim to manage.
It exposes the whole charade. So where does the narrator go from here? Everything seems to be falling apart.
Well, this is when he encounters Reinhardt. Or rather, the idea of Reinhardt.
Who is Reinhardt? Is he even real?
That's part of the mystery. He seems to be this figure who exists in multiple identities simultaneously. People mistake the narrator for him when he puts on a certain hat and glasses. Reinhardt is apparently a lover, gambler, preacher, maybe more.
A shapeshifter.
Exactly. He seems to navigate the chaos of Harlem by beating chaos, by embracing multiplicity. He operates outside history, as the book says, through this recognition of possibility.
So the complete opposite of the Brotherhood's rigid rules and fixed identity.
Totally. Reinhardt represents this radical alternative. Maybe freedom isn't about finding one true fixed self, especially in a world trying to define you. Maybe it's about embracing fluidity, adaptability, being indefinable.
That's a wild concept, a different kind of invisibility almost.
Or maybe visibility on your own terms, constantly shifting. It's a path the narrator has to grapple with.
Which leads us towards the climax, the Harlem riot.
Right. The breaking point, all the frustrations, the manipulations, the disillusionment, it just explodes. The narrator gets caught right in the middle of it.
What does he see?
He sees people burning down their own tenement buildings to spite the landlords, describes it as a black river ripping through a black land. He says his own personality blasted in the chaos.
Total breakdown of order.
Complete breakdown.
Okay.
And amidst it all, he sees Reyes the Exhorter again, the nationalist leader from earlier. Now he's on horseback, wearing a costume, carrying a spear, still preaching his message.
Wow. So different ideologies clashing in the chaos.
Exactly. And in this crucible, the narrator retreats. Goes underground, literally, into a manhole.
And down there, he starts purging.
Yes. He burns everything. His high school diploma, that symbol of his early, hopeful performance. Clifton's Sambo doll, that symbol of disillusionment. And the letters from Bledsoe.
Those fake recommendation letters.
And here's the final crucial discovery. He notices something about the handwriting.
What?
The handwriting on the anonymous note that warned him about trouble in the Brotherhood, the one that gave his Brotherhood name. It's the same handwriting as on the original expulsion letter from Bledsoe.
No way. So Bledsoe and the Brotherhood, it was all connected.
It seems so. Or at least the type of manipulation, the source of control, felt continuous. It links his initial betrayal at college directly to the Brotherhood's later manipulation. It's all part of the same system designed to keep him running, keep him controlled.
That must have been mind-blowing.
He just screams, realizes he's been running on a path someone else laid out for him the whole time, and he declares, "I'm through with all your illusions and lies. I'm through running."
That feels like the real turning point, the true self-discovery.
Absolutely. It's the moment he decides to stop reacting to the definitions others impose and start defining himself, even if that self is, for now, underground and invisible.
He calls it a hibernation, says his world has become one of infinite possibilities.
Yes. He recognizes his own complicity, too, that at least half of it lay within me. It's not just blaming others. And then there's that final re-encounter with Mr. Norton down in the subway.
The trustee from college.
Yeah.
What happens?
He confronts him directly. Norton doesn't recognize him, of course. The narrator asks him, "If you don't know where you are, you probably don't know who you are."
Turning the tables.
Completely. And then he makes that audacious claim, "I'm your destiny. I made you."
Whoa. The invisible man claiming he created the destiny of the powerful trustee.
It's a radical reversal. He's seizing agency, claiming that his experiences, his reality, invisible though it was to Norton, actually shaped Norton's existence. It's about finding power and understanding the chaos, not in imposing false order.
So where does this leave him? And us? He decides to come out of the hole.
He does. He concludes his time underground, his hibernation, recognizing that even an invisible man has a socially responsible role to play.
So invisibility isn't the end goal.
No, it's a state he's processed, understood. Now he plans to shake off the old skin, embrace that invisibility, not as weakness, but as a source of insight, maybe even power. He compares it to Louis Armstrong's music complex, maybe unseen in its depths by some, but powerful. He's ready to engage again, but on his own terms.
So the journey from being defined by others to being unseen to finally choosing how to use that invisibility, it suggests that real power comes from that internal understanding.
I think so. From knowing who you are, whether people see you correctly or see you at all, it's finding agency in your own authentic truth, even if that truth makes you invisible to the dominant narratives. His return isn't about finally being seen the way others want, but about contributing from this new place of self-knowledge.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. This whole deep dive leaves us with a pretty profound question, doesn't it?
Mm.
If identity is really forged in experience, and sometimes, maybe even especially, through the parts of us that others don't see, what invisible parts of yourself might you need to discover or embrace to truly feel alive and find your own path?
Especially when the world seems so determined to tell you who you are.
Yeah, something to think about.